Hello folks, and welcome to a Wise Game video. Well, I know it's a little late, but it's better late than never. So in today's video, I'm going to be covering the PvP gear and vendors for Season 3, The War Within. But in today's video, I'm only going to be concentrating on the actual vendors in the game for PvP. So this is going to be the Honor vendor, and the War Mode vendor, which is also the World PvP vendor, and the Conquest vendor. So with no further ado, let's give this a look. Okay, so as I already mentioned at the start of the video, is I am going to only be covering the PvP vendors in today's video. So if you're into crafting gear and getting gear in other means that could help you in PvP, that will not be discussed in today's video. But there is plenty of information out on Google that could assist you with that. So of course the first thing we want to do is head to Donegal, which is the main capital hub now for the War Within, both Horde and Alliance. Looking at the map here of Donegal, we're going to see southeast. You may be able to see my icon here. This is called the Contender's Gate. This is the area for all PvP activity in the game where you're going to get your weeklies, and this is also where the vendors are. Now you're going to notice standing outside here in the center, you're going to notice this dwarf NPC. His name is Rufus, and Rufus is a good egg. He's going to be the main guy for this area, and he's going to have your weeklies each week. And to the right of Rufus is going to be the building that's going to house the vendors for your PvP weapons and gear. So the three types of gear we're going to be looking at in today's video, the lowest one starts off with honor points. Then the second one is what we call War Mode or World PvP. And then the third one and the final and the highest pieces of gear in the game is called Conquest. So now, before we move on and take a look at the gear and the vendors, I just want to mention that people may be wondering, is it too late to come back and get involved now in PvP and gearing up at this time? Well, to be truthfully honest with you, I just came back a couple of weeks ago. I took off about 3 months. And I'm about 70% all epic geared right now, which is really good, and I only play a few hours a night. Now, also, in this expansion, The War Within, they're only going to have 3 seasons, so this is the last season for this expansion. Normally, we have 4 seasons, but they decided on cutting out the 4th season for this expansion. So from the time that I'm making today's video, you're still going to have several months to catch up when it comes to Season 3 for The War Within. The new expansion called Midnight isn't due to hit till about June 30th, 2026. This is still not yet etched in stone. So the bottom answer is you have plenty of time right now to still gear up and have a good time in PvP. Alright, so the first guy we're going to look at is the Honor vendor. So coming into the PvP vendor building, he's going to be off to the right, standing next to the Conquest vendor. Honor points really come fast in the game. The reason being is because almost everything you do PvP-wise in the game is going to reward you with some honor points. And then if you're a returning player to the game, you may have some honor points already left over from the last time you played. Okay, so now we're at the Honor vendor, and I'm looking at this helmet. Now, all the pieces he carries is the same item level. So, these item levels for Honor gear is going to be 642 stock. However, when you go into a PvP, like a battleground type situation, they're going to increase to 710 in that PvP situation. And now here we are looking at what they call a waist or a great belt in this situation. So again, it's 642 base item level, which is going to increase again in a PvP situation to 710. And again, he will also have weapons. Now, I'm going to give a little piece of advice here. In my opinion, I don't bother enchanting or gemming green pieces of gear, in this case honor gear. I save that for the higher pieces later on, but that's totally up to you. Alright guys, special announcement. While I was making this video, I just noticed that they must have did this yesterday with a patch. Because on Tuesdays is usually patch day or reset day. What they did was that they increased the item level in a PvP zone. And this goes for the honor gear, which I did notate just earlier that they're now 717 up from 710. And we're going to also see this now with the war mode gear and also conquest gear. Alright, so now back to the video. Okay, now next up we're going to take a look at the war mode gear. So again, you have to have war mode enabled to get most of the currency to buy these pieces of gear and weapons. And the NPC is in the middle of this room, and his name is Glitteran. Now these take bloody tokens. Bloody tokens is given by doing a lot of your weeklies when it comes to each reset on Tuesday of each week. And the weekly for this one, the most popular one, is called Sparks of War, which is going to be obtained by speaking to Rufus again right outside of this building. Now, I'm not going to go into deep details about how to do all this, but I do have another video which I will put the link in the description panel of this video and also at the end of this video. And that video goes into deep details of what I do on a weekly basis when it comes to collecting conquest and war mode points, which is also known as bloody tokens, and also how to get this weekly done. Now let's take a look at the war mode gear and weapons. And these images now going forward will have the most updated PvP item level. So first let's take a look at this two-handed sword that he carries. So this one's going to be base item level of 678, and it's going to increase to 727 in a PvP situation. I'm going to touch a little more about getting your epic weapon in this game when we cover the conquest section. And now next, looking at the shoulder piece that he carries, we could see that it's the same base item level of 678. And again, it's going to increase to 727 in PvP. Now you may notice also on the gear that it says that it's upgradable by 8 levels. I'm going to touch on that a little bit later in the video. Alright, now moving on, we're going to now discuss Conquest. The Conquest vendor and the gear that he has. This is my favorite gear in the game. And also weapons. Let's talk a little bit about the weapons. The weapons for Conquest is actually given to you with no cost of Conquest points. That's right. All you have to do through your journey of getting Conquest is you just have to accumulate 2,500. You could track this in 2 ways. By just mousing over the Conquest points you have, and it's going to show you what you have accumulated throughout that time. And then there's also, if you open up the achievement panel, you're going to see in achievements under player versus player, it's called Astral Weapons of Conquest. And that's going to show you a progressive meter that's going to let you know when you hit the 2,500. So now going up to the Conquest vendor, and if you look at the weapons now, you're going to see that there is a message that says complete the achievement, Astral Weapons of Conquest, to be able to purchase additional weapons. Once you get 2,500 accumulated Conquest points, you're now going to be able to get yourself the best free weapon for PvP. This is one reason why I usually skip getting the weapon from the war mode vendor. But I will start off by getting the honor weapon. So looking at the greatsword here, we could see that the base item level is 681. And now it increases ever since they made this change to a whopping 730 in a PvP event. And then looking at this headpiece, we could see the same thing. So the item level is 681 base stock, which is going to increase in PvP to 730. And these pieces of gear are also upgradable 8 levels. Again, a little more about that soon in the video. So that pretty much wraps it all up with the 3 types of gear and weapons that they sell at the vendors. Okay, next we're going to talk about an upgrade system that's called the Revival Catalyst. If you notice, most PvP gear and weapons do not come with set bonuses. But with the Catalyst, you are now able to add set bonuses to your PvP gear. And I didn't know this, but they do claim, as we see right here with the scrolling message, that yes, it does help even in a PvP situation. So those set bonuses do get applied to your PvP gear. So let's take a look at the Catalyst and see how this all works. In the very center of Donegal, it's called the Foregrounds. The coordinates is 50, 54. That is where you will find the Catalyst. Now, the Catalyst is only usable on epic gear, so it's going to be the purple color gear that you get. So in our case, it's going to be the War Mode gear and also the Conquest gear. And this is not usable on weapons. It's going to let you know the piece of gear or the gears that it works on in the list right there. So it's going to work for your head, your shoulder, your chest, your hands, and your legs. And the pieces are going to light up that it's usable on in your character screen. So you're just going to simply drag the piece of gear that you want to upgrade with this where it shows the green plus sign. And on the right window, it's going to show you what the piece will have after the process is complete and the set bonus. To fuel this all up and to be able to use it, you're also going to need something that's called the Arterial Void Splinter. And this item is something you don't have to go out and find. The game actually gives it to you, and it could take up to 2 weeks. But I would check it each week after reset and see if you have one of these items. And again, that's called the Arterial Void Splinter. And there you have it. It's that simple. Now, you're also going to get additional set bonuses with more pieces that you could upgrade. So you're going to have things like a 2 set and a 4 set. And that's basically how you use the Revival Catalyst. Okay, so the last thing we're going to touch on for today's video is the actual upgrade system. So this is different than the Catalyst. This vendor is located across from the PvP vendor room, located still in the Contender's Gate. And his name is something like Letternar. So this is the only image I have for this part of the video, so I'm going to try to go through this rather quickly. So basically, whatever gear you want to upgrade, most of the gear that we covered in today's video is upgradable. So you could upgrade most of them 8 levels. Each one of those levels is going to make the gear stronger. So the piece I'm showing here, I went up 3 item levels, and my overall item level now is 655 up from 652. And we could see that the stats also went up too. The strength went up, the armor went up, the stamina went up. No matter what you use, intel, so on and so forth, is also going to go up. But here's the catch. It does absolutely nothing for your gear when it comes to PvP. Basically, this is made if you only have a PvP set when it comes to gear, and you want to also use them too out in the world, or if you want to do a dungeon. This will make the gear stronger in those situations, but it does not increase the PvP item level at all. So if your Conquest piece says in PvP it goes up to 730, it's going to remain at 730. And then there's different currency that you need to use the upgrader. So for the honor gear, it's Valor Stones. And Valor Stones are very common and given to you for doing most things in this game. But then with the stronger gear like Conquest and the War Mode gear, they're going to ask for different currencies, and those are few and far in between. So is it really worth it? Well, if you're strictly a PvPer like I am, not really. But it will make you kill the mobs a lot quicker and things out in the world. And that's about it. That's about a wrap when it comes to what we wanted to cover in today's video. Again, always keep in mind, anything is subject for change. And I'd like to hear from you in the comments down below. Feel free to sub up so you can watch more awesome videos going forward. And I thank you so much for checking out Wise Gamer. You have yourself a fantastic day. Take care.